So I blah about the new Zara Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wave and Wild, and in this video I'm gonna open these up and give you my first impressions of them. So this is a blind buy and this is a first impressions and not a full review, but I'm going to go through what they smell like, my initial thoughts on usage, mass appeal, performance and more, and I will also try and compare them with the original Vibrant Leather Bogoss. So I'm gonna start with Zara Vibrant Leather Bogoss Fire, but before we begin, let's just go through what the OG smells like. So this is pretty much all about an intense, fruity, sweet dose of pineapple mixed with a bit of that sort of OG Vibrant Leather DNA, which is heavily inspired, pretty much 100% inspired by Creed Aventus. So this is basically like a fruity, sweet version of Vibrant Leather, going all in on pineapple with a bit of freshness. So Fire is supposed to have pineapple, bamboo and labdanum, and when going through the notes of all of these, they still seem to focus on the note of pineapple. So this is going to be interesting for sure. Okay, the opening is actually kind of nice. There's definitely a bit of fruitiness and sweetness in the opening, but compared to the OG Bogoss, Fire is definitely not as fruity intense and not as fruity sweet intense as the OG. And here's the thing with a lot of Zara fragrances, and especially within the Vibrant Leather line, in that it feels like it's sort of speeding through from the opening to the dry down. So in less than a minute, I'm picking up on a prominent dose of woodiness. Things are moving so fast with Vibrant Leather Bogoss Fire and the mids, which is basically something that arrives in less than 2 or 3 minutes. This changes into something that to me is primarily woody with a bit of fruitiness and sweetness. And the more it dries down, the more I feel the whole thing changes into something that is a bit more on the sort of a warm side. So it's not super warm, but there's definitely a bit of warmth to it. Definitely something that feels sort of a fuzzy, musky warm with an ambery touch. So Vibrant Leather Bogoss Fire, based on my first sniffs with it and based on this first impression, opens up with a bit of fruity sweetness, but compared to the original it's not as fruity sweet intense, and then quite quickly goes into something that is more on the woody side with a bit of fruitiness and with a bit of sort of a hint of sweetness to it. And when it dries down, this changes into something that to me is primarily woody with a sort of a warm, fuzzy, musky side to it and an ambery touch. And if you prefer a version of the original with a less focus on that pineapple and instead something that goes into something that is sort of a woody, musky and ambery, then yeah, this is definitely something you should try out. But let's move on to Vibrant Leather Wave. So this has pineapple, kiwi and driftwood. So this sounds interesting. Let's hope for the best. So I sprayed that one here. I'm gonna spray it up here. Okay, so I'm not sure which note is behind, or even if the note list is complete, because Wave feels a lot fresher than this. So there's definitely a prominent dose of fruitiness to Wave. However, the pineapple of it, at least to my nose and at least based on this first impression, is dialed down compared to the original. So there's a different kind of fruitiness to Wave. And the kiwi, I'm not sure how accurately they managed to dial in that kiwi. So maybe kiwi-ish mixed with a bit of pineapple, something like that. But this is definitely, at least to my nose, and at least based on this first impression, pretty much a mix of something that is sort of lightly fresh together with quite a prominent dose of woodiness. The woodiness compared to Fire is it's almost as prominent, at least in the dry run, as fire. But I feel the woodiness of fire has more depth to it and is a bit more sort of intense and a bit more prominent. This has the woodiness of wave has a lighter feel to it, and wave has quite a prominent dose of fruitiness as well. But that fruitiness, I'm not gonna say it's like a prominent dose of pineapple, because I feel that pineapple is dialed down. And yeah, it's supposed to have kiwi in it. I'm gonna say it's kiwi-ish. There's absolutely nothing about this that I think smells bad in any way. This actually smells good. But also, when it starts to dry down, which happens really fast, like most of the Bogoss ones, it feels a bit sort of too soft, and I also feel it lacks a bit of personality. So yeah, it smells good, but it does feel like this goes way too fast from the opening to the dry down, and when it dries down, it just lacks something unique. It definitely lacks a bit of intensity and personality. So let's move on to Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wild, and this is the one that when I saw it, I felt, okay, I really need to try this one out, because this has pineapple, green apple, and vanilla. So this feels, based on the notes, like something I'm gonna enjoy, but let's see. Yeah, definitely. Straight away, quite a fruity, but I'm gonna say sort of a fruity slash light slash slightly fresh opening together with vanilla. This is actually quite nice. So pretty much straight away in the opening, I'm getting a mix of that apple, maybe like a tiny hint of the pineapple. So it's almost like the pineapple is toned down in all of these, even though it's listed as one of only 3 notes. And what really takes center stage in Wall is a prominent dose of apple. So this in the opening through to the mids, at least to my nose and at least based on this first impression, is pretty much all about apple and a bit of freshness. And pretty much straight away in the opening you get a bit of that vanilla. And the more Zara Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wild heads into the dry down, the more vanilla centric it gets. So this in the dry run is pretty much mostly about vanilla with a bit of the fruitiness from the apple and a tiny bit of that initial dose of freshness. So Bogoss Vibrant Leather Wild, much like the other in this video, is quite different compared to the original. This is that intense fruity sweet dose of pineapple. All of these seem to have the pineapple quite dialed down and instead focusing on other things. So here are my initial thoughts on the vibe of Bogoss Vibrant Leather Fire. This out of all of these feels like the sort of the least playful and least fresh. So this is in a way sort of like the most classy version of all of these. And Wave definitely has more of a summer vibe to it, more of this sort of a relaxed kind of vibe. And Zara Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wild is definitely the sexiest out of these. This definitely has the more sort of a fun, relaxed, and sort of a sexy vibe to it. So here are my initial thoughts on compliments and mass appeal. I do feel that most will enjoy getting a whiff of these. I don't feel there's anything bad about any of these. However, Fire is definitely the least mass appealing. Then we have Wave, which to me is quite a mass appealing kind of scent. Most people will most definitely enjoy getting a whiff of this. However, the most mass appealing and compliment getting scent out of all of these is definitely Wild. This is vanilla together with a bit of fruitiness, and most people will most definitely enjoy getting away for Wild. So here are my initial thoughts on performance. So obviously I do need to wear these more, but based on my first impressions of them, I do feel that at least on my skin, that Wild has the best performance. And on second place, I'm gonna put Fire, and the weakest one is Wave. With that said, I do not feel any of these is a strong fragrance, and I think you should view these sort of the same way as most of the Zara Vibrant Leather fragrances behave when it comes to performance, in that very few of them are something that is strong. So here are my thoughts on usage. So like seasons, since none of these are super strong or super intense, and their composition, notes and all that are nothing too intense or too heavy or too deep in any way, I do feel that all of them are fragrances that can be used throughout the year. But with that said, Wave is definitely, together with, I'm gonna say Wave is definitely the one that leans more towards spring and summer, while it's also something I feel leans more towards spring and summer. This on summer night as will most likely smell absolutely gorgeous. Fire is the one I feel leans slightly more towards like fall and winter. But once again, none of these are too heavy or too intense in any way, and I do feel you can use all three throughout the year. So who are these for? Let's start with Vibrant Leather Bogoss Fire. This is really for someone who wants a primarily woody scent with a bit of musk and something that is quite ambery. This does have sort of a hint of pineapple, but if you compare the pineapple in Fire compared to the OG, these two are quite different. Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wave is really for someone who prefers a more fresh version of the OG. So once again, the pineapple in Wave is nowhere near as intense and fruity sweet as the original. And these two, at least to my nose, are quite different. So don't go buying Wave thinking it's going to be something super similar to this. So this to me is something that is primarily fruity with quite a different kind of fruitiness compared to this. It's supposed to have kiwi, but at least to my nose, it's more kiwi-ish together with a hint of pineapple. And this is primarily like something that is sort of a woody and fruity with a bit of freshness. So really for someone who enjoys scents like that. And Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wild is really for someone who absolutely loves the scent of vanilla and apple. So if you usually enjoy the scent of apple in fragrances, and if you absolutely love the scent of vanilla in fragrances, then you will most likely enjoy Wild. This is not a complicated kind of scent, but it smells good for sure. And once again, this is another flanker that is very, very different compared to the original. So based on my first impressions of these, I think I'm gonna rank them like this. It could almost be like a toss-up on third or a joint second place, but I'm gonna put a Fire on my least favorite. And there's something about the far dry down of this that, while I do feel it completely lacks the intensity, there's something quite nice about it. So I'm gonna put Wave on second place, but I gotta say, the fruity and vanillic combo of Wild is definitely, at least based on my first impressions of these, the one I enjoy the most. This is also the one that lasted the longest on my skin. So yeah, the one I enjoy the most out of these three is Zara Vibrant Leather Bogoss Wild, and if I would recommend one out of these, it's definitely going to be this one. So I was actually wrapping this video up when I got a whiff of Fire on my skin, and I'm gonna have to change what I just said. This is from the future, by the way. I'm gonna put the ranking such as follows. The best is definitely Wild, I really enjoy it. Then comes Fire. There's something quite nice about Fire. And on last place comes Wave. This isn't a bad scent, but it just lacks quite a bit of personality, and I do feel it loses whatever it has quite quickly in the dry down. I've done a lot of videos on different Zara fragrances. Make sure you check them out over there. Please drop a like on this video. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And make sure you comment if you tried any of these, which one is your favorite and what you think of them.